Hey guys, welcome to another Dansky Live. It is good to be back. I just started the stream then and realised I didn't actually have the network cable in to get decent internet, so I had to leg it into the other room and then bomb it back here just to get it all set up. I've tinkered with a few audio settings and bits and bobs, so if the audio is too quiet or too loud or whatever, please do let me know in the chat, and then I will kind of hopefully be able to kind of adjust that on the fly and make things look a bit better. Right, today we're going to be doing some design review, of course. Thank you to everyone who has submitted your work. It's amazing. We've got some real variety this week, and there's a few pieces that I'm kind of conflicted on. I really like them, but then there's some things that just aren't working for me, so it's going to be fun. I've got my water, I've got my coffee, and I've even got myself a nice little whiskey as well. So don't normally drink, but I'm going to treat myself today. And we're just going to spend the next hour, which will probably end up being 2 hours or so, just going through design work together. And we're gonna discuss and share some opinions. So, okay, right. Where are we going to start first? And also, I'm going to try and spend a little bit less time on each one, just because there's so many different designs I'd like to get through. So hopefully the feedback that I can condense into this stream is going to be really helpful for anyone who submitted their work, and for anyone who is looking to develop their design skills or have a career in design. Hopefully these pointers that I'm going to come up with are things you can bear in mind with your work. But remember, it's just my opinion. I'm just one man, just one ginger, so you know, take it all with a grain of salt. Hello, Mike Phelps, welcome back, sir. Aerosolver Tech, hi Adam, Phil, good to see you again. Eamon, Kieran, Sema. We've got the regulars back in. The regular crowd. Welcome, welcome. Right. Okay, first up. Let me open this one up. This is from Afshin. Let's whip this up. Cool, we've got a logo. And it also looks like we've got a YouTube channel as well. So, hello, fellow YouTuber. So, all graphic design video tutorials. Oh, dear. Oh dear, competition. That is competition right there. Terrible logo. Right, next. No, just kidding. This is really, really cool. I love this. I'm guessing it's kind of some sort of bird, some sort of eagle. I mean, I'm a sucker for red, white, and black, so I really love this. And the red in the eye is a nice little accent of color. I appreciate that. Let's zoom in a bit closer and do what I love to do, and that is critique every single frickin' anchor point. So if I were to critique this and interject my own designer bias, I would say these curves could just do with kind of tightening up a little bit. I kind of get the extended angle here, so you have that sort of droop in the beak, which may be intentional, but even down here there's that kind of little bit of a droop towards the end of the feathers. And this last one here, just it doesn't have that same kind of shark fin shape. You can see obviously it forms a letter, but there's a little bit of inconsistency with how these are treated. That's a difficult one to get around, I'll be honest. You could continue this one here and have it kind of swing back and then stylize this part of the B perhaps, so it's not just you know, bird here and then a straight cut over here. I think I'm personally not a fan of these kind of curves, top and bottom. You know, I think that's going to be a stylistic preference, so like I say, take that one with a grain of salt. I sort of see what you've done. Personally, what I think could look cool is you've got this nice curve here, and you could continue that down there and then come up here. So we're kind of adding another feather. At the moment, it sort of feels a little bit disjointed from this kind of really cool bird illustration style. And then we've got this there. So I feel like you could possibly turn those into feathers top and bottom, which would kind of make the whole thing feel like it hangs together. The eye, yeah, looks cool. I get it. It's kind of like a badass eye. Slight hint of evil in there as well with the red. It's cool. I would try a few different shapes. I would try some shapes with a kind of a flatter top. Yeah, maybe. Again, that one's another subjective one. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. That is going to be the saying for today. Just take it with salt. And, oh no, Mike says, hello to all you fickers out there. Oh no, that's becoming like a running thing, isn't it? Mike, we don't talk about the ficker. It never happened. Reese says, be careful what you say on this one, Dansky. Braven might critique your work. Yes, that is very true. Do you know, this is Nothing wrong with this. Perfect design. Absolutely love it. No, that's fine. Honestly, feel free to critique my work. The thing I love about critique is, it ultimately just makes me a better designer. Being able to listen to other people's opinions, as long as those opinions are, communicated respectfully, then hey, I'm all ears. Another thing I've just noticed going back to these curves is we've got this kind of thickness here of the white. It's a bit thinner here, bit chunkier here, so a few little inconsistencies. Again, I would just tighten up this. I love this little detail, but it just needs, I guess, some slightly smoother curves that follow the curvature of the outside just perfectly. That's what I'm looking for. Perfection here. This is my obsession, all right? These perfect curves. Conceptually, I love it. I actually think that is really, really cool. I think just maybe a little bit tighter on the curves. Maybe use some circles to form those perfect curves. We don't have to go golden ratio here. Just some really nice smooth curves, and then maybe add a few feather details here to kind of tie it all together. Add a bit more of that feathery quality to the outside of the bee. But hey, apart from that, I think that's a solid logo. Love it. Boom. Right, let's see what people are saying. What do you think to that? If there is a fire instead of a red eye, you should try an eye effect. Yeah, maybe like a flaming eye, or yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Maybe something. Oh, this is going to look awful. This is what happens when I try and do it on the fly. Sort of something like that, like a flaming eye. Yeah, that could look pretty cool. Critique can be hard to take, but so worth it. Yes, Reese, exactly. It really is. I found it a lot harder earlier in my career. But I like to think that on some level, I've matured as a person. Maybe. I'm still a big child in other ways. But yeah, it's very easy to say separate yourself from the critique. But, when you're so creatively invested in something, it's easier said than done. But I think that's the thing. Take it as just one person's opinion. And it's not a critique of you. It's a critique of the work. So you might be a great logo designer, I might be a good designer, but I can still make a design that can get heavily criticized. So it is what it is. We are all imperfect humans. Anyway, rambling aside, next one. This is from Ayasan, and I'm terribly sorry if I do pronounce your names wrong. Ooh, okay. Lumen Holdings Limited, invest in living. Again, conceptually, I love this. I love the colors. Black, white, and a splash of color that's right up my street. So I've obviously got my own bias in there, but I love it. It's really bold. It stands out. I think, what have we got? We've got, I'm guessing the L here. We've got the H forming the house, and then possibly another L backwards for the limited. It's subtle, but I don't think we need to literally get the LTD in there. It's a really kind of nice symbol, and it's complemented by the text alongside it. Yeah, font's good. Nice sans serif font. I think my biggest issue with this design, in fact, before I get to that, no, what I really like about this one as well is we have this whole kind of angle thing going on, but actually, even though it's on an angle one side and an angle the other side, the design actually still occupies this same kind of rectangular space. It's not going down too much or not coming up too much. So if this was really, really small on a website, you wouldn't read the tagline, but the rest of it, the Lumen's holding bit, you would be able to see that quite clearly. So yeah, I'll probably do a version that doesn't have the tagline for the website, for example. So maybe this kind of text here would just be a bit smaller to line up with that bottom edge. But my critique of this one is exactly the same as the last logo, in that, not that we need more feathers around the edges, but the detail of it, the angles, everything is kind of misaligned. It needs to be lined up and it needs to be tight. And these angles, let's do a little angle inspection. Let's get a box. I could use the other measurement tools, but I'm lazy. Right, what do we got? We've got 8 degrees. And what we're looking at on the other side. Yeah, that doesn't feel the same. No, so the angle there isn't actually consistent. So that's the first thing I noticed. It one side, the right side, I think it's actually not as steep. I think it isn't as steep. It extends further out, so it looks like it's hanging down lower. So I don't know. Maybe there's a way of balancing these two halves. It's difficult because this text is kind of longer and this icon does already look quite stretched out. But I would just make sure that on both sides the angle is kind of symmetrical. In terms of spacing here as well, we've got a little bit more spacing here than we do here. Minor detail, but you know, one that I think is important, that I'm totally obsessed with. This text here looks like it has some distortion going into the distance, but the distortion is so subtle that it doesn't look intentional. And I don't know if it's the text size, but I'm seeing it more on this white word holdings and less so on here. So it looks like the word holdings has distortion at the end and the other word doesn't. And then this one here, it doesn't look like it. It looks like it has no perspective whatsoever. So there's a little bit of a mismatch with the text there. Something just looks off. In terms of this, I would like to see a straight line. God, I sound like a teacher now, right? I would like to see a straight line. You know, one of these little details here. In fact, let's zoom out. Let's go all the way. A nice straight line. That would be the kind of thing I'm looking for as a guide. So I would set these up as some guides and just make sure that your angles line up. You know, they don't always have to, but if they're kind of almost there, it's just a little detail to kind of tighten up those angles. Same on this side. Yeah, you can see there's a missed opportunity there to kind of just tighten everything up. Again, spacing here, thin, thick. I think there's kind of like I feel like there's a sort of a bit of perspective here as well, in that this side is kind of feels closer to the camera, a bit wider, and the lines here are thinner. I don't know. What are you guys thinking? I'm not feeling it. I understand like what they're going for, I think. Yeah, that's not too bad. But it just, I don't know, it looks off. Obviously, this is thicker and this is thinner because of the perspective. Personally, I would just make it orthographic, take out that perspective, set yourself up some guides going at an angle, and just remove that perspective. I think it would still look really cool. And again, you know, we've got this line here. It needs to kind of be consistent, whereas at the moment it's just a little bit off. But, you know, again, like I say, it's just those, let's get rid of those green rectangles. It's really just tightening it up. This is the thing I see time and time again with logo design. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but, you know, it's just one of those things. Those little details are the things that I obsess over, and they are the first thing I notice. And it's something I do see time and time again. So, I don't know, maybe we need a video on that in a bit more depth. But yeah, solid concept, just needs a little bit tightening up. So I'd love to see a version of that without the perspective distortion and all of those angles tightened up. Because yeah, I think it's really clever the way they've linked the L and the H, and it's representative of a house or a holding. So very, very cool. Parasolver Tech, Dansky, you're amazing, but you're not Muslim. Oh, I know, I'm not. Sorry about that. Kieran, now we can see much more. Don't have to be I'm a ginger. Hopefully that's good enough. Yes, it's a little bit difficult to feel the notion of a logo. My opinion is it should have been more simpler. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I think taking out the tagline as well would have probably helped that. Could even take off the word limited, I guess, you know, whether you choose to have that in the logo. Some companies do, some don't. I think there is an element there of personal preference. Those little details are the difference between me wanting to be a creative and a professional. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I feel like a lot of people will have a different opinion, but that's how I feel. Like, you know, it's something that I do see time and time again, is those little details, especially in menu design. Like, my God, when I go for food anywhere, the first thing I'm looking at is I'm a nightmare to go out for food with. I'll look at the menu and critique the spacing on the prices, for Christ's sake. So, but it's that little detail that I see time and time again. Okay, right. This is interesting. I don't really have any context to this. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I'm being a little bit dense. I like it. I love the symmetry. I love the bold fonts. In this bit here, you know, normally I would never use this fully forced justify text all the way. I just wouldn't do that. But it feels here, because you've got these other bits of text that are all kind of pushed out either side, it actually makes sense. And it does draw emphasis on those words. I don't know if that was intended, but I don't know. This is a really strange one. I really like it. I could see this being printed on like a yellow stock or something, like as a one color black and white print. But yeah, I'm not really sure what the context is with this. Is it for like a play or something? I don't know. I mean, it's got television down here, so written, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit dense. But if you're the person who designed this, Andrian Zulkarnaen, sorry about that. We'll go with Andrian. You know, please add some more context because you know, I really like it, but it's so different. It feels like a really great example of graphic design. You know, it's so different. I feel like there are some norms in this that you kind of get told do this, don't do that, and actually this just kind of almost does away with some of that. But it looks cool. Reese says my poor wife has to deal with me commenting on billboards and venues. Really, anything design-wise, lol. She told me to shut up at church when I was critiquing the slides. I know, we're a nightmare, aren't we? But we are absolutely right to point this stuff out. These non-designers, they don't understand. The billboard menu struggle is real. This sign is beautiful. Yeah, Sema says that, yeah. Very, Phil says album cover. Yeah, it could be. Nick B says it's good, but I think it'd be better if it's not symmetrical. Reese says, I love this style, Dansky. What style would you call... I don't know. What style would you call this type of poster? I'm not entirely sure. There probably is a name that kind of harkens back to a famous designer that did a thing once. But, you know, yeah, it's not coming to mind. But I do like it. Really, really do like that one. Right, next up. We're going a bit quicker today. Hopefully... got some good pacing. Oh, okay. We're going to come back to this one. Yeah, so I'll just show you this quickly. We've got a poster design here. And we've got a social... I think it's a social graphic here. And we've got some mock-ups. Firstly, thank you for these reviews. Such a great learning experience to see how you might approach a project with a keen eye. This is a project I was asked to do for my local animal shelter. The logo and QR code was supplied by the event's organizer, which is often the case. If you're working with someone, they'll give you their logo and their QR codes and everything, and it will often be low res and terrible, so you'll have to chase them for higher res versions. I'm pleased with the palette pour concept, but it was an intense journey for me to format all of the information in the flyer while keeping the color to a minimum for printing purposes. Yes. They also requested a social media square and volunteer t-shirts. Would love to know how you might have approached the layout on the flyer, especially as it took way longer than I'd have liked. Thanks again. So thank you, Carly. Yes, and oftentimes, you know, the designs I think that we're proud of do take a lot longer than we would like. It's not always convenient being a designer, is it? And I wanted to spotlight this one because we're going to come back to this, and I've set this up and I'm going to go through this in more detail, and I'm actually going to start redesigning this. I say redesigning it. I'm going to kind of adjust the layout and actually spend a bit more time making some improvements. So we will come back to that one. That's going to be fun. Okay, we've got one from Chris, and I'm just going to stop pronouncing surnames because I can't. Phil K says Dance Music Festival. I think we're still theorizing what the last one was for. Calling out bad fonts in a movie theater while on a date, not the best move. I learned the hard way. But did you get that second date, Mike? That's the important thing. Was that it? Mitsubitsa, I love those shirt designs. Yeah, they're really cool. Really cool. But like I said, we will come back to that one in a bit more detail. Okay, Chris has done a promo for Adidas shoes. This one's a nice, easy one to critique, actually. We've got text up here. It's way too tucked up in the corner. We've got all this space. It's a nice big message. Promo Terbatas. Not entirely sure what that means. I'm guessing a promotion would be my logical deduction. But Terbatas, not really sure. But it's a big 2 exclamation point job, so let's make that nice and big. Let's really kind of shout it out. And what you could even do is just come behind this this little label here. Bring that bottom word behind the label, and it just adds a bit more depth to this shot. This is depth that you've already started here because you've added a surface, you've gone to the trouble of lighting the surface. There's a wall back here with some texture. And if you're able to bring this text and just add bits and pieces in front or behind the shoe, it just helps really sell that depth. And it looks cool as well as a piece of design. NMDR1, I'm guessing that is the shoe. We've got the Adidas logo here. They're fine. Could you make the logo bigger? Maybe. Do I really care? Not really, no. The shoe is the focus and the 50% discount. Discon, I'm guessing discount. This is a nitpick. This is a little nitpick. Spacing here. In fact, I've seen this throughout my entire career and it drives me nuts. The spacing just could do with tightening up a little bit. So you see the width here? It's not the same at the bottom. It's one of those things. Just nudge it up. Just nudge it up a little bit so we've got a nice, consistent kind of margin around the edge. Is that just me or do you guys feel that as well? Same over here. You know, we've got a lot of straight lines. We've got more space on the right than the bottom. I think sometimes doing that intentionally is fine, but when it's just literally a few pixels off or whatever, it looks like, I don't know, maybe we could tighten that up a little bit, but that's a personal thing. On this, lose all the effects. Just lose them. The bevel it makes it look dated. Bevel on the text, we don't need that either. You know, I think this type of design, we've got some clear bold text. Again, you've got a shadow here. You could keep the shadow if you want. Depends how you're going to do it. Because you've added a wall in the background, what you could do is make the text bigger, interlink it with the shoe, and then cast a much softer shadow on the background a little bit further away. So it actually looks like the text is real in that physical space and it is casting a shadow onto the wall. Of course, it would be a lot softer because it's further away from the wall. So if you were going to go that route, yes, you could keep the shadows here and have it casting a nice soft shadow on the wall. Kind of almost like they're, you know, this shoe feels like it could be hanging by a bit of string. You could even add some little strings there and hang the sign up. Maybe hang the sign up with a bit of string. I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas here. So it feels like it actually fits in that physical space. Yeah, I mean, you could even hang the text. No, anyway, calm down, Dan. Calm down. We're not just going to hang everything by bits of string. But yeah, I think these shadows, they can, the shadows and the bevel, they can be a little bit overused. They feel a little bit early 2000s for me personally. In terms of the shoe, I'm guessing this is a product shot from Google or something. Lighting looks great, but if we're going for a realistic scene, we need to add some more shadows to that. So because the shadow's underneath, it kind of looks like the light is intended to be coming from the top. We can't just add shadows and leave everything else. We have to add the shadow and the lighting. So, let's just try and do it quickly. I can't help myself. Send me PSDs, guys. I need to get my hands dirty with this. Okay, let's just do this super. This is going to look awful, but you know, I'm just trying to give you an idea. We're just going to, you know, spend a little longer. But if I'm just going to light the bottom, no, I'm not. I'm going to make the bottom darker. You know, obviously this looks crap, so do a much better job than this. But this is just for illustrative purposes. Alright, let's do that. Let's try again. I've got lost in me mask now. Hang on a second. What have I done wrong? Oh, okay. It isn't actually making it any brighter. The point I'm trying to make. Oh goodness, what have I done? Oh no. Hang on. Calm down. Let's calm down, everyone. Anyway, the point I'm trying to very hurriedly make is that we've got the light coming from the top. So you want to darken the bottom part of the graphic. Not like this. Do you see what I mean? Am I making sense? Obviously, you know, that's just like it's kind of being lit from the front. The shadow's underneath, so we need to light it from the top. And darken the bottom. We'll ignore that for now. And so the shadow just kind of feels a bit more realistic. Again, this part of the shoe is closer to the surface to make the shadow harder here. And then as you go to the left, you can soften it much more. So it just needs to be a bit harder there. What I would do is draw your shadow. Let's see if I can actually do something without ballsing it up. And you can use something called tilt shift. This is really cool, actually. If I can demo this correctly, this is a really cool thing. So what you can do is bring this in, and you can actually add a gradual shadow. So you can see nice and hard here, blurred over here. You can adjust the blur amount like that. And then obviously this part on the right is too hard now, but if we just go and apply a Gaussian blur overall, just enough to soften that, we've got like a slight bit of blur here, lots of blur over here, and that's a really good way to add a gradual shadow. And I think the color, we've got this kind of yellowy murky color that should be like a more warmer orangey dark brown to kind of blend with the surface. And again, if you're going to go for backgrounds like this and then you've got surfaces here, that lighting needs to match there as well. So parts of this surface might be darker and other parts might be lit a little bit brighter as well. So oh, that was all a bit of a mouthful. What I was trying to say really is just lose the bevel and shadow, make the text bigger, involve it some way with this, and then work on your shadows and lighting so the whole scene just feels a bit more realistic. That's obviously I said that a lot quicker, but yeah, hopefully that was helpful. It's one of those things, you start looking at it and then you notice these other little things, and Hanel says, haha, just some shadow problems. This is what happens when I try and do it on the fly. It all goes wrong. Sema says, can you make designs about business card sample models in the coming days? Do you mean like mock-up? So taking your business card and adding it to a mock-up? Because if that is what you mean, then we've got a business card mock-up coming up. And Sharif says, Sharif is sad. Don't be sad. Your logo is planned to be in this stream. So stick around because I don't think you're too far off, actually. Right. Let's just scroll back up and see what people are saying. Lots of spam. Yeah, come on, guys. Let's not spam. No spam. Anyway, right. Next up. Oh, we've got so many to get through. Oh, there we go. Business card mock-up. There we go, as requested. I love this. There's a few more bits here. There's a few more bits. Where is it? I'm not going to open all of them, but we'll open up another one. There we go, for more context. So this is a great thing to do anyway. When you kind of design a logo and you're presenting it to clients, just give them some context. You know, it's very easy to critique a logo just flat with a color around it, but when you see it on the bag, it's not only good for us to do it so we can actually get an idea that it actually works, but it helps the clients actually imagine how it will actually look. If they're looking at their logo and it's just flat on a color, they'll pick all these holes in it and they'll notice things and blah, 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 all this stuff. if you show it to them as a complete set, mocked up on a business card and a bag and a store poster and all this stuff, you're really kind of, you're setting yourself up for more success, I think. But also it's just really kind of, you're selling them a lot. You're going to sell them a lot more on your vision for their design or their rebrand or whatever it is. Anyway, Nooch, love that name, very cute. And the thing I love about this logo is it's simple. I don't know if that is a font or it's custom drawn. I wouldn't be surprised if it's custom drawn because it looks really, really cool. It looks like this person knows what they're doing. We've got a little leaf there, which I guess relates to the type of cuisine. We've got lots of cute little icon illustrations here, which again, I love, really, really cool. And we've got a nice juxtaposition between this bold font here with some very subtle serifs and then a more kind of hand-drawn font here. And I would say that that possibly might be hand-drawn as well. I don't know. If it's a font, it's a really nicely hand-drawn font, and these two play off each other really nicely. It still looks professional and smart and kind of playful, actually. It looks really, really kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say natural, but it just feels very authentic, good for you. But then we've got this kind of very, I don't know, very earthy, organic. It just feels really nice, but not all serious, like really kind of chill. I can't describe it. It feels good. I like it. The contact details are probably a bit small. I would just make this a bit bigger and fill that space. But again, oh yeah, this must be a font. We've got a nice sort of continuation of this hand-drawn style, which is then complemented by these illustrations that kind of look like they could have been hand-drawn as well. So, and the back and the front, we've got this reverse of colours, and it's a different colour palette. It's not a colour combination you see all that often, so it does really stand out. And if we go back over here to the mock-up, again, we've got those same kind of colours, but we've got the white bag and the... I feel like I could go to Nooch. Here we go. Nooch, or nutritional yeast, is packed with nutrients, including fibre, B vitamins, minerals, and protein. Yeah. There we go. There's some context. And I feel like I could go to Nooch. But yeah, no, I really like that. Really cool. Yeah, spacing looks tight. Yeah, like I say, just the size on that one. The napkins, I love these. I love the fact it explains a bit about the brand on the napkins as well. I think maybe you could add some of those illustrations. These are beautiful. I feel like these are so nice. This kind of tile of illustrations. It almost feels like a missed opportunity to just get that on the bag somewhere. Whether it was a strip around the bag or whether just all over. I don't know. Maybe print-wise that's more costly and a bit more of a hassle. But I think it would just make it a bit more distinctive and stand out. And they just look so cool as well. So, I don't know. It feels like a bit of a shame not to use them. Phil says, do you think the pattern of veg would be better, more random? Let's have a look. Aha! Phil's got a sharp eye. Yeah, so we do have... Yeah, I see what you mean. So if this is the kind of the pattern, if you were to repeat that, say 10 times across a bag, it may look a bit repetitive. What I'd be tempted to do though, if this was done in Illustrator, is you could set this up as a cluster of vegetables, and then you can repeat that pattern using the repeat features that I think were added in like 2022 or something, version 22. And you can then actually swap certain elements around. You can flip certain repetitions. So let's say it might flip the aubergine every other one, and it can help randomize the pattern. So yeah, that's a really good spot. Maybe randomize that a bit more, and then just plaster it over these bags because it would look really, really cool, I think. The hardest part for me is the color scheme. Not a fan of that, but otherwise love the design. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's not colours I'd pick, but I mean, what colours would you pick if you were to have a crack at this? Yes, the pattern redundancy seems a bit more busy though, says Kieran. Seema says, do you follow standard sizes or do you vary by design? I think generally it kind of, back when I used to do more client work, it would kind of be standard unless it just needed to be a bit extra, or if the client had different requirements. I think, you know, business cards, a lot of people, they kind of just want a cheap and cheerful business card. Use a standard size. The printer is going to carry that paper stock or card stock, whatever. And, you know, you can do custom sizes, but then of course you've got to account for the printer cutting or getting a unique stock at that size. You know, you can get business cards that are square with rounded edges. You can get them cut to completely unique shapes. They stand out more, but they're going to be more expensive to go through that whole kind of printing process. So yeah, it's kind of a combination of it's a balance between your creative vision. Is it actually necessary and adding value for the client, and does the client want to spend that kind of money doing that? Because some people will literally kind of go and hot foil their business card and add all this embossing, all this crazy stuff on a business card. And kind of like on what is it, American Psycho, when they all get their business cards out and they're just like, oh, I've got this business card and it's embossed, blah blah blah. You can do all this cool stuff, but it of course does start to rack up the cost. Right. Sema says, when I can't make such patterns, I immediately go to Google to download them. I find a ready example. The thesis says, let me see, what did you say? More natural earthy to go with info. Yes, that's what I would do as well. I would go for that natural earthy color. But then is it too kind of expected, and does it stand out by being a bit different? I guess it depends where the business is as well. You know, is this like a one-time place? Are there going to be other brands anywhere nearby using this color? Yeah, it's different. Oops. I don't know if you could still hear me, but I think I may have just closed down the stream. Oh no. Come back. Okay. Are we still live? Let me know. Did we cut out there? Because I actually closed down the streaming window by mistake. Oops. But did the stream cut out or freeze or whatever? Okay, amazing, cool, brilliant. My bad. I think a lot of people lose/forget about business cards, so definitely creating something unique and cheap is the way to go. That's a really good point. Mitza Bitzer says, yeah, if you can kind of stick with the norms and keep it cheap, but then be creative and make it look different or stand out without kind of going down the more expensive route, yeah, that's great. And that, you know, that's going to be a happy client as well a lot of the time. If you can kind of save them money and make it look even better and still stand out, then, you know, win-win, right? Okay. You're good. We saw your panic live. No panic. I've got some whiskey here. I'm all good. We're just... Okay, right. Next design. Oh my goodness, we've still got so many to do. Right, let's go. We've got a hat logo. Cool. Let's have a look here. What have we got? We've got 2 hat logos. Let's focus on one. I'm going to assume they are the same. Okay, this one's really easy. As a concept, I think this could look wicked. Really, really like this. Got the hat sort of turning up here. I'd probably be tempted to maybe bring this down. Just so it kind of follows that curve a little bit more and it just helps it feel more like a hat. And we've got the feather here. I don't know. It feels like that being behind. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if something like that fits a little better. Obviously, ignore this terrible curve. Actually, we could try and redraw that really quickly with the pencil tool. That was a bad idea. Oh, terrible idea. Okay, leave it alone, Dan. Yeah, I like the concept. I really do. I feel like, and this might sound a bit annoying to whoever did this, I feel like it just needs to look a little bit more like a hat. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Like, if I saw that without seeing the hat logo text, I think the feather kind of really does tell me that it's a hat, but I didn't immediately get it. And I don't know if it just needs a few more little details or something. No, not that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I really love the simplicity of it. I don't know. I feel like maybe a few more details. I didn't like the feather just sitting behind it either. That did feel a bit weird. But yeah, actually, now that I look at it more, I feel like the kind of bottom of that definitely needs to kind of have more synergy with the bottom half of the hat. The miniature logo looks very nice. Yeah, it looks really cool. Be faster, please, Dan. Okay, Sharif, right, we are getting to your design, I promise. We will not finish the stream before you're doing your design, for sure. Nice job. Why green for feather? Yeah, I got no idea. I love it. I love the green and I love the splash of colour, but I've got no idea why. Does it work with black and white? I think it does, yeah. I mean, the thing with this one is if we go black and white with that one, you can see, I think that's where it sort of starts to come undone a little bit. And when it comes to logo design, this might be a personal thing. I'm a bit funny about colours butting up like this. You know, we've got this gap here between the top of the hat and the bottom, but then we have this white and this green butting up against each other, and it's almost like two different styles. You know, that's why my first instinct was to move it here and just give it that space. Was because, well, we've got space between the top of the hat and the bottom. We should have space between the feather as well. Whereas, you know, I wouldn't move the feather over the design per se, unless he says, oh no, he's doing it again. He's trying to be clever. Oh goodness, it's going to go wrong. Yeah, I don't know. There's probably an idea there somewhere. Don't know. Now I'm getting carried away. Yeah, I'm still not a fan of that. I think if you're going to start adding gaps between elements, you need to kind of keep that consistency for the most part. But also, like I demonstrated, as soon as you make it one color, that feather just merges with the bottom of the hat and it all sort of falls apart. But lovely concept. Love the minimal style of it, but it just needs a bit more refinement, I think. So thank you so much for Zico for sending that one in. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best here. Tanvir says, love your videos, Dansky. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate all of you being here, listening to me waffle on about design. It really does mean a lot to me. I think a sliver, can't say that, of white tapering along the left edge would go a long way for readability, says Nick. A sliver of white tapering along the left edge would go along. Yes, that's probably not a bad idea, actually. And I think that adds a little bit more detail in. Adding those kind of little, as you say, slivers and little details and accents that make it look more like a hat, but still keep it clean and minimal. I think that's like a really good way to go. Does that gap represent a band around the hat? Good question, Phil. It might do. Victor, a bit late. Oh, you're about halfway. No, you're about halfway. We've still got a way to go. Oh goodness, I am making a mess here. I'm pouring this all over the desk. Dear me. Right. Okay. Right. Let's open this one up. Oh, we've got a lot here. There's a lot here. This one is from Ian Willonzi, who I believe was here before the stream even started, I think. Right, let's open all these up. This is a big one. This is a monster project here. Okay, let's... Oh, we got it all on one. All on one file. Okay, right, let's forget the Photoshop stuff. We put it all in one big file. Ah, this is what happens when you have missing links. We can't see everything, so I will need to open some of these up. In fact, I'm just going to do that. That's probably easier. Bear with me. So this is a massive project, and Ian has submitted the whole kit and caboodle, really. This will be in a completely random order. So we've got RT for Rising Town, I think. We've got the RT kind of turned into this this logo here, this R and T, and then we've got it translated into this symbol here. Right, I think this, looking at it now, this is the problem I have with this logo. I get the RT, I get it then going into this symbol, but this shape here looks like a random shape. I think it's clever. I can see what you've done here with the bowl and the R and everything, but if I were to just see this bit on the end, I would be like, what is that? I have no idea what that is. But this is one of the ones that I said was really conflicting, right? And I'd be curious to see what you think to this, because whilst I don't think this is the right execution, like it says Japanese village and flower, like I kind of see it. I see the houses. Yeah, you got the houses. They've kind of got that. I think they're a representation of that Japanese architecture. Those kind of those curved roofs and everything. The flower at the top. I'm not really getting that as a flower, if I'm honest. It's a nice splash of color, but I like the thinking. I like the methodology behind it. But as a customer who doesn't get to see any of this and they just see the brand, what are they seeing? Because this sounds really odd. When I look at this, I don't actually see the houses. I can see it because I know it's there. I see some sort of metal pole with a big spike coming out of it and like a big bowl on the top. I don't know what it is. It's weird. I know what it is, but I'm just not seeing it. Hello, sorry a bit late. Welcome, Popinda, El Moderator. You have come. Yeah, so this one's a really conflicting one. And this is right up my street. Look at this attention to detail. You know, this is considered, you know, he's got the spacing, the lines. This is what I was on about with clean curves. You know, he is using these kind of curves. They're perfect. They're based on circles. So you're going to get some really nice geometry there. And you know, it's just that's kind of right up my street. So I like it. I really like that approach. We've got a bit of blurb about the business here. We've done that. But then when I see it on a board like this, I really like it. I don't get it still. I can sort of see I don't know what it is. It's a weird one. I think it's because I'm not seeing this as a flower. I mean, maybe that could be like a sun or something, and it's obviously Japanese, so you've got the red circle from the flag. This is a weird one. I want to see what other people think. Right. Stubers, good afternoon. Nice of you to join us. Welcome. Mitsubitsa says, yeah, I agree with the context. It works, and the technical skill is spot on. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Sort of looks like a knife thingy, says Tanvir. Yeah, that's what I was getting as well. Looks like a torch. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I was seeing first, was like some sort of torch thing with a sharp knife coming out the handle. Right. You are gone, chat spammer. Chat spammer, be gone. Any more spam and you're getting booted out. We've got designs to review. Okay. Looks like a magnifying glass with a knife. Yes, exactly. Okay, right. It's not me. I'm not crazy. Cool. Well, maybe a little bit. Right, let's keep going. As far as an app icon goes, my feedback is still the same thing. I've got that opinion, but I love this. You know, it's simple, it's clean. I love the colors. You know, A star as far as execution goes. Let's keep going as well. Yeah, looks great when you see it on an actual building. I think the font. I got a few issues with the font. It's nice because it keeps that sort of very simple, clean, geometric style. I think it's some of the letters. I'm not totally sold on the G, the N, and the W. Yeah, there's something about it I'm just not too keen on, and I don't like this kink here. I know why it's there. It's there because the T goes in, and you get this big empty bit of space here. But I'm just not a fan of that. And then I don't know. Does this need to line up? Does the R and the T need to extend to the end of this kind of what is a house? Does it need to extend to the edges? In fact, does it need this white thing around it at all? Just let's go with that. What if we took out the white and we just had the houses, the red circle, and the text? I don't know. Just going to throw that one out there. Nanaki, hello Dansky. Thank you for reviewing my design. I'm Andrian. Oh, excellent. Apologies for mispronouncing your surname. So the context is about animation from Japan and justify things in synopsis. That's it. Other than that, just decorative. Amazing. It's a ring light on a nightstand with a broken handle. Okay, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's not just me then. Okay, yeah. That's the thing, I think. I'm sort of seeing a few different things. But in terms of its actual how it looks, does it look good on a building? Yes. Does it look good on a sign? Yes. Does it look good as an app icon? Yes. It looks good. It ticks all the boxes. But I feel like the concept just isn't quite right. You know, I don't see that as a flower. Yeah, I suppose that's what it looks like without the box around it. Yeah, maybe it isn't the actual border then. Maybe it's not the border around the edge that's the real issue. I think it is the kind of mark itself. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. We're not gonna get hung up on that too much. Right. Completely Corey says, how do you submit a design? There should, if I've done this correctly, there should be a link in the video description of this stream. So, yeah, you click on that link and you'll be able to upload your files to Dropbox. That could be JPEGs, or if you've got master files like AI for Illustrator, you know, I can then open up your design and take it apart, something like that. How are we doing for time? 4 o'clock. Okay, that's an hour already. Whew, okay. Oh, this is lovely. This is lovely. This, guys, is the highlight of my week. Absolutely love doing this. Kieran says, it's definitely a Japanese house silhouette. Yeah, I know. I can see it now. I know it's there, but I couldn't see it at first. Again, you know, this is a really cool use of the on the box. You know, we've got this packaging which looks brilliant, and we've got that same kind of accent from the logo on the box. Nice font. Yeah, it looks good. It's just, yeah. Same again here. That looks brilliant as far as the design goes, especially this kind of text and the colors and the, yeah, fantastic. That's a really, really conflicting one, that is, because I really like it, but then at the same time, the concept for me just isn't quite there. even though I really do appreciate kind of what that person's gone for. Right. Next up, Calculo, however that is intended to be pronounced. This is by Mushaf Mehdi. And yep, I love this. Ticks all my boxes. As far as precision goes, it looks pretty much perfect. The only thing I notice, and this is really a nitpick, the space here in this circle is wider than all the others. Could that be the same width as these and still work? Yes, probably. Is it an issue? No, not really. Very simple, clean font. Let's have a little look. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to go with Calculo. Calculo, that sounds about right. Is a software product that helps talent and learning development professionals with accounting firms manage their certified courses more effectively. So, dark blue and white. I'm not a massive fan of the business card here, if I'm honest. I don't mind these little tags on the left and right. The watermark up here on the left feels really random, and I really don't like that at all. You know, I think if you're going to have a watermark really subtle, have it central around the logo, or just remove it. I don't think it's adding anything, and it just looks weird, if I'm completely honest. This kind of, what's it to do with? Development, learning, accounting, money. Do you know what this logo evokes to me? What I'm really getting from it is it looks very professional, it looks confident, but above all else, it actually to me evokes a sense of trust. I don't know what this company is, really, like, you know, just I read the description, but I feel like there is some trust here. Like if I was the target market, I could place my company, business, whatever, within the hands of this company, and I trust that they would take care of me. And that might sound really weird, but I think it's because their logo is just so tight and polished, and we've got blue, which is, it's very dark, but that color can be associated with trust and security, that kind of thing. So I don't know, that's just what I'm getting from it. It looks like, you know, it looks like they'd take care of you. Do you know what I mean? Fabio, hey, welcome. Nice of you to join us. Really nice. Maybe not perfect font, something more circular. Yeah, possibly. I think if you're going for a perfect circle here, yeah, you could probably find a font that is actually perfectly circular. Apart from that, all the other letters look pretty good. Yeah, maybe just something a bit more circular. That would probably be the icing on the cake. That's a really good point. Seems more tech focused than accounting. Is a software product. Yeah, I don't know. It's software, so is that kind of tech related? It's related to software. I don't know. So maybe you could kind of. Maybe I'm reaching a bit much with that. Mitsubitsa says, oh, where's it gone? The central watermark background is my favorite thing to do for business cards. Yeah, it's a really it's kind of an easy one to do, really. You know, once you've got the logo, it's like, what should I put on there? Big block of color. Can I add something else? Just take the logo mark, make it a watermark in the background, and that you can do that on like headed paper for letterheads, compliment slips, all sorts of stationery. That kind of watermark. Yeah, I've used that quite a few times throughout my career. It's a good one. Max Art just uploaded one of my projects for the next live stream. Amazing, thank you so much. Hi bro, how are you? Says Dejeen. I'm very good. Fantastic. I hope you're doing well as well. It reminds me of a fingerprint almost. Yeah, I can see that. Oh yeah, like the kind of Touch ID kind of symbol. Joshua says, I think my viewpoint is biased based from the Westworld maze replication in the mark. I've not seen Westworld. I've heard it's pretty good. Yeah, we've all got our biases, haven't we? I've got my own bias. Okay, right. Next. Oh my goodness, it's warm. It's so warm in this tiny little room. We've got blazing sunshine in the UK today, so it's lovely outdoors. Unfortunately, the studio doesn't have air conditioning, so it's all right. I've got plenty of liquids for me to drink. Okay, Philip. Right, let's open up this one. This is from Philip Kirkwood. That is a cool name. Right, Photoshop. Conceptually, this is cool. I don't really know what I'm looking at. It kind of reminds me of like a dream, or maybe a nightmare. I don't know. It's bizarre. It's almost like I could imagine this from a movie, right? The person wakes up on the bed after going to sleep, and then they're in this. Their whole bedroom is kind of blown apart, and then they've got mountains and giant birds and impossible things in the scene. That's kind of what I see here. Stubers, blimmin' hot in Wiltshire. Oh, you're in Wiltshire? That's not too far away. Oh, amazing. I've also got some whiskey today. You'll be proud of me. We've got coffee, water, and I've got a little bit of whiskey as well. I thought I'd treat myself. No, Dan doesn't have rum. Matthew, what's your choice of whiskey? Jameson's Irish whiskey. I love it. I don't drink often, but I think on these streams, do you know, I might treat myself. It's nice and relaxing. Right. Stubers, I recently did a set of new business cards, and instead of overdoing it with my watermark, I went for picking out the main part of the logo with a UV layer to make it shine. Very effective. Nice. Okay, I can imagine that. Yeah, that would look pretty cool. Especially if it's all shiny. Phil says it's called In My Dreams There Are Storms. Oh, I love that. It's titled and everything. Yeah, it's so cool. Really cool. I think if I were to critique this and I were to try and put my spin on it, I think the bed in the foreground looks really cool. I think something that does feel a bit odd is the floor is flat here, but then it kind of goes up, and then we've got this wreckage here. Is that like I'm not sure if that's that. Is it plane from Iceland or something, or it's some sort of wreckage, but it's kind of on an angle, which doesn't really match the distance. But then you've got the lighthouse, which is quite flat, especially in terms of the lighting. That feels very flat. But the lighting here is very distinctive. We've got this shadow that suggests it's coming from over here. So, oh no, he's getting the red. He's getting the red out. So the lighting is kind of coming from this direction. So maybe that would be a bit darker because it's quite in the background, but then we could add some shadows down here and maybe a little highlight down there, perhaps, just to give that a little bit more depth. I would remove this, even though it's a dream or a nightmare, whatever. I know you can kind of get away with doing anything, because, you know, anything goes, right? But I would personally move this because the perspective here looks a bit odd. And yeah, this bit here where you've got this kind of hanger and this bit down here, this feels, I think the colours are so similar to the wood, it feels like this is actually part of the foreground, when it's not. It's actually part of this is all part of the background. What you could do here is add some blur to this, a very subtle, just a few pixels, just to help separate that from what's in the foreground. That depth will help, I think, give more focus to this kind of stuff, and it helps separate foreground and background elements really nicely. I love this in the background, the mountain here, and we've got this kind of, I don't know what that is, some sort of stretched web canopy thing. I don't know, it looks cool though. And I think colors as well. I would probably add a color balance adjustment layer to some of these. Some of them feel a bit cooler, like the rocks here feel cooler, and the bed and some of these elements here feel a bit warmer. I would try and balance those colors just a little bit more. Yeah, like at the moment, the pink feels off. I think if that's meant to be like a smoke or a mist or clouds in the background, I think some of that needs to just come in front of the rock. We need to get a few of those clouds or whatever it is, like up here. You know, you can see the mist coming over. I think if we're going to have that pink there, it needs to have its color tweaked ever so slightly. It looks like gas at the moment, like it looks like someone's let off a smoke bomb in the room. Where in actual fact, I think it's kind of more in the distance and it's clouds. So if we can make those interact with the rock a bit more, add some blur, depth of field, add a bit more shadows and lighting for some of these elements that are a bit flat. The way I would kind of envisage this, right, is you've got the bed, you've got the floor in the foreground, and you've got this kind of mirror and the door here, whatever. This is all in the foreground. This is going to be lit a certain way. Then you've got the stuff in the background further away. The bird's a weird one. I mean, it's giant. The perspective's totally off, but maybe that's the intent with it being a dream. Personally, do you know what I would do? I would make the bird a lot smaller, remove this rod thing, and I would put the bird on here. Rotate the bird a little bit, and I would have the bird sat on the door frame or on this part of the bed. And then you could make it bigger, smaller, whatever you wanted, but I would just kind of, feels like it's kind of coming out of the side randomly, and I feel like he would integrate quite nicely with the scene, just sat on the end of the bed almost. I don't know. What do you think? Stuber says, my daughter lives in Bristol, mate. Oh, amazing. I'm in Nailsea, so just outside Bristol, like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes away. Tanvir says, this is art. Yeah, it's great. It's really great. It's nice seeing this. Sorry, let me just remove my horrible red lines that I've put all over it. I love seeing this kind of creativity. But I feel like, and this is something that I see with a lot of people doing Photoshop stuff, and I see this with people who submit entries for things like Benny's Spooky Edit War. So many great ideas, and this is something that I've done as well. Is conceptually, people come up with these amazing ideas. They're so creative, but there's like two main things that really let down a design. Not saying that this one is like like a letdown or anything, but I think if you tightened up these two things, I think you'd be amazed at how much more realistic you could make this scene look to really kind of sell that idea of this being a dream. And the biggest thing is making all the different images that have been shot under different lighting conditions and whatever, making them feel like they fit together. And the two things are balancing the exposure, so the light and the dark, the shadows and the highlights between all these different images, and then balancing the colors. So you don't have an image that's really cold and then one image that's really warm. You kind of balance them. So if there's like a big blue light in the background, all of the other images, they all have like a little bit of a blue tinge to them, so they feel like they fit within that scene. The two adjustment layers you want for this, actually there's not two, there's more, but exposure, you want to balance these between each image individually. You can also do it with levels and curves, so it's entirely up to you. But then for the color, you want color balance. Those 4 adjustment layers, I cannot tell you, once you kind of get to grips with that, the difference that will make to your work, as it did to mine, is astronomical. It's maybe that needs a video, I don't know. Great feedback, Dan, thanks. I don't really spend too much time on these, just ideas. I mean that, yeah, if this is something that you didn't even spend too much time on, it's amazing. And it's amazing to see. So hopefully that's, it's always a bit of me rambling and waffling, but that's just kind of me sort of projecting my thoughts. But yeah, conceptually I love it. I think it's just lighting, shadows, balancing those colors and exposure, and yeah, maybe just tweaking a few elements, maybe remove this, add some blur to the background elements, and then maybe put the bird on the bed or something like this, or on the door here. Yeah, really cool. Thank you so much, Phil, for sharing that one. That is awesome. Max Art says, can we upload more than one project for a stream? You can. Some people have submitted like 10 different designs, but I'm probably not going to look at all of them realistically, because I've got so many people who have submit work. I might pick one or maybe two. So you know, if you're going to submit multiple designs, personally I'd recommend not submitting more than two, and just pick the ones that you're most proud of, the best ones. Reese says, creatives, have a blessed rest of your day. Gotta run as always, Dansky. Thank you. Love these. Amazing, Reese. Catch you later. Catch you in the next one. Thank you for stopping by. Okay. Any Gio Tomea says, any course for Illustrator or Photoshop? Haha, funny that you ask. Yes, there is. Shameless plug incoming. I've launched a full Adobe Illustrator masterclass. So if anyone wants to learn everything that I know about Adobe Illustrator with about 6 hours of video, just over 60 lessons, I'll teach you everything I know. And it's all there in a course now. So yeah, there's a link to it. And if you sign up to my mailing list as well, which is on the homepage of Dansky.com, you get a coupon for 15% off the course. So yeah, if you want to learn everything I know about Illustrator, that is my course. Right, end of the plug. That is it. Done. On to the next one. Oh, this is cool. Okay, this is from Roger. We've got two here, so let's open these both up. They're kind of related, and these are really good. Lovely. I could not find the linked file. BBBBBBBBBBB. Okay. If you are submitting work, guys, embed your files. Open up that links panel, embed your files. Otherwise, it's going to make it look all low res and rubbish. So, we've got this one first. So this looks to be a cassette player of some kind, and Roger has made this all from scratch, which is amazing. Like when I first opened this up, I was like, wow, this is cool. Oh, embed your fonts as well. You know, I've not got these fonts, so it's going to display wonky. Type, create outlines. That's how you get your fonts in there. But yeah, this is wicked. I mean, look at this. Look at this. And when you zoom in, it's actually amazing how simple some of this is. If we break this apart, we've got a circle, a few more circles, a gradient, a dial. You know, for the buttons, we've just got a very specific gradient with highlights in key places and shadows as well. So I love this. When you actually zoom in, it's like quite simple to create. But when you look at it like that, it's like, that's really cool. This part of the cassette as well. Yeah, that would have taken a little bit of work. We've got a nice grain texture there as well. Yeah, I think the curve on the feet shouldn't be so much. I'd probably make that a bit flatter or completely flat, just because we're looking at this quite front on. So I think the feet are a bit rounded. The perspective doesn't match. Down here we've got a rounded corner, whereas up top we have a completely squared off corner, and nothing in the real world is that perfectly sharp. It's the same when you're doing 3D stuff. You want to kind of, even if you're just gonna do a little boop like that, you just want to round things off. Not that it's that noticeable, but you know, you get the idea. But yeah, that's amazing. It's such a cool illustration. And this is the kind of thing anybody can actually do as well. You know, you could literally go and take a random object in your house, a bit of tech, something like this, that is made up of metals and plastics that have kind of predictable lighting, that you can do things like, you can make up realistic buttons with just simple gradients. Tech is quite a good thing to do if you want to practice this stuff. And it looks incredible. But I think to create something like this and make it look as good as this, it's just kind of having a solid understanding of those tools, like the gradient tools, and how to create, you know, get these lines all going around here in this shape, and just patience and time actually doing it. But when you look at it, it's like, wow, really cool. And then similarly in Photoshop, we've got the kind of process of creating a cassette. Oh, giving me flashbacks now. Giving me those 90s flashbacks. Yeah, so he's kind of set this up here, all vector. We've got a nice bit of grain there as well, which is a nice mix. We've got the clean, solid colors and grain as well. And then we've got more grain here. So we kind of got the grain introduced for a little bit more realism, which is really cool. Dan, whose work is this? I missed it. Roger. That's all I know. It's just Roger in capital letters. So yeah, I love that. That's wicked. Really, really cool. Gears on the cassette tape seemed off to me. Probably not, but seemed like flat rectangles versus a piece of 3D plastic. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think maybe it could do with perhaps a little bit more depth and a bit of shading. There's like they've got like an inner shadow here that they've added. But yeah, maybe a few more elements. Just need a few more highlights and shadows possibly. Also the spacing here left and right, I don't know if that's intentional, but it just feels a bit thicker on the left side and a bit thinner on the right. But it's the kind of thing, you know, it's kind of like, what are you going for? Are you just trying to do like an illustration like this, or are you going for absolute realism and you can just keep layering on detail and detail and more details? You can get really kind of really into it. And it's all vector, which is great. I think if you were going to go for super, super realism, I would do most of it personally. I would do an Illustrator like this and then bring that layered file into Photoshop and then add my lighting and everything, like really kind of polish that up, highlights, that kind of thing. Things that require brushwork, I would do that in Photoshop. Because you can copy and paste, you could copy and paste all this now into Photoshop as layers and it would bring in a layered version of what you've created. There's one thing missing, no heads to turn the tapes. Is that on the other one? Hang on, let me open it up. Where's it gone? Roger. Let's open this up. Oh yeah. Or would that be down here? Yeah, where you kind of put your finger in and you can move the tape. Oh, I'm getting flashbacks now. Kieran says, for me it looks great. There are much precise details. Sir, how much are hand drawing matter in Illustrator? Not a lot. I'm terrible at drawing. If you've joined any recent streams, you know my drawing ability, especially as far as drawing wings go, is awful, but it doesn't matter. The tools really do kind of help me quite a lot. You know, I can draw. I don't do it a lot, and it's the kind of thing I'll try and do it on stream, and it will always end up coming out rubbish. It just takes me a lot longer because I don't do it very often. Okay. Right. This is going to prove exactly the point I was just trying to make with the Photoshop stuff. In terms of composition, this is awesome. Now, who's this by? Scheduler Team? No idea who this is by, but they've done a photo. I think they've took their own photo is the impression I get. And then they've added Guardians of the Galaxy and all this kind of stuff. And you can see they've added all the characters. We've got Thor in the background. Is this from the latest film? The spaceship? I don't know. This is probably UFO. I've not seen the latest one. India chapter, or is this like a made up one? I don't know. Personally, I'd lose the UFO or make it bigger, or and fade it into the background. No, the UFO, you need to have a UFO with a lower angle. You need to be able to see the underside of the UFO because the camera is very low to the floor looking up. So you need to see the underside for the angle to make sense. In terms of composition, it's really cool. And you've got the blur here in the floor, which blurs as you get closer to the camera, but it also means that the text stands out. So it's kind of, you know, the text isn't fighting with the image because there's that nice bit of blur behind it, which is pretty cool. But it's the same feedback as I gave a minute ago. These characters look like they've been cut out and plonked into the image. We've got to color balance them. Oh, I'm going to try. We've got a lot of blue in this image. We've got blue over here. We've got blue here, blue. The whole thing is looking blue. So let's just try and do that now. Let's go. Can we make a selection of all the characters? Let's see if object selection can do it. Is it going to get them all? Ha! Not bad. Not bad at all. Could have been worse. Right, let's clip that to here. Okay, that'll be good enough. So you can see what I'm doing. We could go make them fully blue, but I'm not. I'm just going to bring in a bit of blue. There. I mean, look at that difference already. Look at that, just literally. Boom, boom. Let's go and do the shadows. Bring that down a pinch as well. We've got some purples in the background, so maybe we could bring in a little bit of magenta in there. And then we'll go to the highlights. Yeah, we'll go with some blue. Nothing too crazy here. And maybe just a little bit too blue there, but you see what I mean. The difference between that and that, it just blends into the scene a lot more. And if you've got the lightning coming from Thor's hammer, you want to be adding highlights from that lightning all around all these characters, because that lightning is gonna be affecting all of them in the scene. So if you add light sources, you've got to think, okay, what's it going to affect? Also the cracks. These look hand-drawn, which is fine. You need to add some highlights around these as well, and shadows to make them feel like actual cracks with holes that you could fall down. They need some depth. At the moment, it looks like you've just drawn kind of black lines over it. And as you get closer to the foreground, they need to blur as well, gradually. And you can use that tilt shift we looked at earlier to gradually blur them about here all the way to here. So they get more blurred as they go closer towards the camera. Also, UFO, background, sky, space, all this stuff, you could add a little bit more blur there as well. So you've got the foreground, very blurry. You've got the characters and all the action in focus, and then the background is blurry. So the characters are kind of, it puts a lot more focus on the characters. But yeah, composition-wise, it looks really cool. But again, it just comes back to that thing, color balance and just lighting, shadows, and exposure. It's that one thing time and time again. Ah, good point, Kieran. What about the direction of the lighting? Yes. So it's kind of the same sort of similar thing. You know, any light sources that are in the image, you've got to factor that in. I don't know if all these characters came out of one image that was already shot, so the lighting was on point and consistent. But if you've got lighting on one character here and then the other character it's down this side, you might want to flip the characters around. You'll save yourself a headache rather than trying to kind of change the lighting manually. Phil says maybe darken the bottom vignette to lift the text info. Yes, absolutely, you could do that as well. You could definitely darken this whole background bit as well. It's just going to make all this small paragraph text stand out and just shifts the focus up higher onto the image as well. Oh, you're very welcome. The course is always there if you'd like to take it, but you know, there's still going to be plenty of free YouTube videos as well. Scott says proportions seem off with the background and the UFO. Yeah, like I said, the UFO, because you're looking up and the angle is quite low, and you're looking up that direction, you need to be able to see the bottom of the UFO. So I think it needs to be way bigger, and you need to be able to see the underside of that ship as well. Okay, right. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, we're getting there. Right, a few more, and then we're going to do some design. This one is a PDF. Splashing coffee on my nose. Okay, Japan City Guide. I love this. Just off the bat, I absolutely love this. So we've got Japan. These are your pages. These are your different regions of Japan. Really simple. Now this is like, we're looking at this flat, but this is going to be like a book or a brochure that will fold in half. So you have to kind of imagine these are 2 pages on an open spread, and then this is where your page fold would be. So you can see we've got page 4 and page 5. So Tokyo. I love the way this is presented. Every different region has a unique icon. Population, rank, density. I've got all the information down here on the left side. I've got lots of blurb about Tokyo if I want to read more. I've got an arrangement of images over here, which is very random arrangement, but I kind of like it in a weird way because I think it changes. Yeah, each page is kind of different. So the only thing I would say is here, you can see Tokyo is marked with a little dot. This dot is very subtle. As we go through the different slides, you'll see that dot moves around. What I think would have been better would be to highlight the region of Tokyo in red and a block of red, show exactly where that is, because the dot is quite subtle. So as you go on to the next one, yes, the dot moves around, but I think it would just be easier to see if the whole region was highlighted. My goodness, am I going to pronounce that? Fujika Wakuchiko. Fujika Wakuchiko. Oh, so bad. Yeah, and you can see it's got a unique icon there, a graphic, which is really, really cool. The next one, different graphic, Kyoto. I can say that one, that's easier. And we've got this consistent style here, even though the layout changes. I really do like this. Great use of white. If there's ever a good example of using white, this is it. You don't need to have 20 images over here. Yeah, you could make them a bit bigger and maybe add one more just to fill this space, or maybe make the hero image a bit bigger and then have 2 smaller ones. But this white space just, it's great. You don't have to fill it up with all this stuff. I love it. Ronnie says, "Hi brother, how are you today?" I'm very good, thank you. Yourself? Stuber says, "I like the map of Japan being in an inky style." Let's have a look. Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, so it's not super clean. It's kind of inky, like in a brushed style. Looks like the kind of brushes you get in Illustrator. You can get this in Illustrator as well. This, again, this looks like someone's drawn it and used some of Illustrator's kind of more grungy brushes. That dragonfly. What else have we got? Hiroshima. I think same again. Yeah, really nice illustrative style. Sapporo. Yeah, I love that. That's really, really cool. And again, nice colors and a great example of a good use of white. It's the kind of thing you have to imagine it printed and in your hand and foldable. It looks very different than just looking on screen. Sharif, I got to go pray in about 5 minutes, but thanks for everything you do. I would like to stay for the end of the video, but I have a final exam tomorrow. Okay, hang on 1 second. I'll do yours now. If you've got to go, hang on. We'll do yours right now because you have very patiently waited, Sharif. So just if you stick around for 2 seconds, and I'll do yours right now. I love this. This is going to be really easy, actually. This is going to be really easy because I love this. Absolutely love it. What do we got? S and H. Yeah, so I'm not sure what the H stands for, unless I'm missing something. That might be your name, I'm not sure. But I love this. It's really, really cool. SH. You can see here the methodology behind it. We've got this very kind of symmetrical setup of guides here. The angles have been considered. Just absolutely love it. I really love it. And it's a very clever S and H. Yeah, Pop Into says, love that. This is really cool. The only critique I would give it, and this is a minor nitpick, this is just me, is the width of the letters and the spacing here all feels really consistent. It just feels thinner down here on the sides. Does that need to be the same width as the other lines all throughout the logo? Because that width is present around every part of the logo except these vertical gaps. So that's just a question. Does that need to be the same width? Would it still work? Yeah, quite possibly. But that's a little nitpick from me. Yeah, I think that's what Mitsubitsu just said. The only nitpick is the thickness of the negative space isn't consistent. Yeah, that's the only thing I noticed, but that is a real nitpick. I hope you're still there, Sharif, because you did stay on. We should have done your one. We should have done your one sooner. That's it. That's literally all the feedback I've got. I think the rest of it is absolutely spot on. Hey, he's there. Thanks, man. You're very welcome. You know, honestly, it's brilliant. It's really, really tight. If there was anything else I could say about it, I would, but it's just brilliant. And I love the way you've combined the S and the H. It's just, mwah. I love that. Absolutely love it. Okay. Right, we're going to jump on to the last one now because I'm going to do a couple more because I've got so many to get through. But we're going to rattle these off in 30 seconds really quickly because we've got a big one to do before I go. Okay, Nefarious. I love this. This is a really cool logo. Look at these angles. Yeah, maybe you could probably line that up there. You could possibly line that up, but not the end of the world. Those angles are consistent. That's the important thing. The serifs at the bottom, they are consistent between different letters. That is an important detail that I love. Nefarious. The font style is really cool. It's complemented by the torch, which is the eye. We've got those same sort of angles going on. And then we've got a really nice flame here as well. And this is a good example of a flame done pretty well, I think. We've got really nice curves here. Really, really nice. Only one I'm not totally crazy about is this bit here that I've just drawn over so you can't see. This bit here, oh yeah, I don't like this one. This kind of curve all along with it, that needs to be tidied up. But that's a nitpick. That is a real nitpick. The font, I think, is amazing. It's got like a real kind of slightly, I don't know, gothic vibe to it with those serifs. Very angular. Width on the S seems a bit thin there. Let's go and have a little look through. Yeah, that does seem a bit weird that that's a bit thinner. The color, I don't know, doesn't feel very Nefarious. It feels the colors don't feel right. It feels like it should be black, the background. I don't know. It feels like it's Nefarious with a really aggressive looking torch and a flame. It feels like there should be black in there. And it should just evoke a bit more, I don't want to say evil, but it should evoke a bit more darkness or something. But I have no context, so I'm just throwing out my own personal ideas. But as a typeface, this looks wicked. And that R is very, very different. Very inspiring to see something so different, actually. I like that. Really, really cool. Okay. Mitsubitsu, nitpicky thing is the flame touching the corner on the side, but not the other on the torch. Ah, yeah, we've got to spotlight those details, haven't we? Phil K says, looks really different and new. Yeah, it was different. It was really different. Maybe the eye must be longer in the bottom to better fit the other letters. Yes, that is a good point. I think the eye stopped exactly at the bottom and it should have maybe just extended just a little bit below the baseline. Okie dokie. Delivery Pro. This is going to be really easy. I love it. I mean, it's just brilliant, right? I could see that as an app. I could see that being right alongside your Deliveroos and everything. I think the color is probably the same color. Very similar. There's probably a very similar color scheme there, if not the same as Deliveroo. But the execution is very, very nice. I can clearly see the D and the P. Delivery Pro. Love it. How are we looking on the details? Right. Oh, again. We need a t-shirt. We need a nitpick t-shirt. I think that is the word. The word is nitpicking because that's what we're doing. That's definitely what I'm doing. Spacing. Oh, no. Oh, it's not too bad. I thought it was worse, actually. My eyes obviously gone a bit wonky. It felt a bit thicker at the top. Let's have a little look over here. Yeah, I knew it. The spacing is a little bit thinner here. So you want to make sure that this white strip around here, this negative strip of space, that width stays consistent all the way around. Same for all of these, actually. And let's do these line up. Are we pixel perfect?
Are we pixel perfect?
Yes, we are. Okay. Excellent. Very good. Whew. I was getting agitated then. Whew. I was getting nervous. That was going to be slightly off. Yeah, I love this. I can't really say much more. I'm a sucker for a simple sans serif font. The D really nicely complement. No, don't do that, Dan. The D is just basically this exactly the same as this. If you had a different font with a different D that didn't match this, it would look weird enough. But we don't. We have a very nice geometric font. It looks brilliant. I love it. Let's move on to the next one. Clean and simple, says Phil K. You wouldn't forget that. No, it's not. That's it. That's all it needs to be. I can imagine that being an icon. If that was the new Deliveroo company, whatever that came out, the Uber Eats, I could imagine seeing that logo everywhere. And I think that is the mark of a really good design. It's simple and it's memorable. Okay. Right, one more. This is wild. This is wild. I'm going to focus more on the black and white one because I think the colours are a bit... I think this would look better against a dark background, personally. These kind of colours are pretty crazy. Against black, it would stand out a bit more. Same here, actually. Black background, white logo. But anyway, I love this code Eldrich. I'm not entirely sure what this is for. Looks kind of gamery, actually. Like a gaming logo or maybe a gaming channel or something. Eldrich. Reminds me of Bloodborne, actually. Yeah, not sure about that. But if you know what the Eldrich is, I'm not really sure what that actually is. I've heard the word before, but yeah, we've got some very sharp angles. Not so sharp here. Maybe a bit more consistency with the treatment. I like the font. I'd probably do a version that is quite small, and then you wouldn't necessarily have all of these zeros and ones in the background because it's so small you wouldn't see that. So it'd be good to see a version of this logo without those tiny, tiny details. Imagine it's going to be this sort of size. What am I seeing at that kind of size, you know? But conceptually, yes, it's pretty out there. I do quite like it. I think because we've got a lot of sharp angles on the letters. We've got spikes on these tentacle things. Then we've got these rounded strokes around the edge. I don't know. I think they got to be square or something because, you know, the rounded edge with such a design that's very, very angular. Even the hexagon in the background is really angular. To add those rounded corners in, it's just not working for me. So we've got to do something about that. Maybe make them square. Maybe figure out something else. But yeah, kind of mishmashing those rounded and square edges, just not quite doing it for me. Right. Okay. On to the grand finale, which isn't... I mean, don't let me hype it up too much. But I've got 15 minutes until I have to run. So let's open this one up. Again, if you've got images in your files that you're submitting, embed those images and convert those fonts to curves. Otherwise, they will do some funky stuff. Okay. It's giving me the vibe of the Razer logo. Yeah, Do you mean like the laptop company, yeah, with the three snakes? Yeah, it's a little bit like that. Fabio says it's all very crowded. I think that's the zeros and ones in the background. They're not doing it any favors. It's just overcomplicating something that I think actually would be just fine on its own with the tentacles and the letters. No, let's think about this. Abdurrahman. Abdurrahman says hello. Hello. Sorry it took so long to say your name. Tanvir. Wow. Video maker, I like this. Hopefully you're referring to the stream. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have, if you haven't, let me know. I'm always trying to make these better. But I've had a ton of fun today. So let's wrap this up with one final design. My goodness, it's hot. Oh, I just want to pour this on my head. Which is a terrible idea. Right. Art for a pause. Art for a pause. Is that a play on words? It's to do with animals. A benefit for the Springfield Humane Society. Isn't that from The Simpsons? Springfield. So, first off, I love this. This is really, really cool. I love some bits more than others. What I really do love is the text. I don't know if this is a font or if Carly has drawn this by hand, but the Art A and pause lettering I love. It's really exactly what something like this to do with animals needs. It's really cute, it's fun, it's playful, it's bold and chunky, and it just, these letters are just, I want to cuddle them. I just want to give these letters a big squeeze. They look absolutely exactly what this type of design needs. But, and there is a big but, I didn't see the word for a long time, like a really long time. Now maybe that's just me. It might be me. So I read artapause. I had no idea what artapause was. I wasn't seeing the word for. So that's a problem. So what I would do, in fact, I've kind of got my version over here that I'm going to just quickly try and do a few sort of speedy fixes. I would probably do, at least, at the very least, I would make it the same color so it fits with the text. I would absolutely make it bigger, and it actually sits, it kind of locks in around the A quite nicely. Obviously, let's get rid of those extra stars. So it kind of fits in there. Yeah, you might have an issue with the alignment there. You might need to move this over a pinch and start kind of playing around with the A and have that sit in front. You know, I think even that actually, let's just get them both side by side. Do you know what I mean? Let's make it, you can probably make this a bit bigger with that space actually. And you kind of notice it a lot more. What I would personally do is I would actually, as much as I do love this A, I would get rid of that and I would write for a in this handwritten script style. So you've got big bold art, you've got 4A written all fancy, and then you've got pause at the bottom. The reason I would do that as well is because it allows you to push that wording up and not occupy as much space, which gives us more space at the bottom, which I'll come to in a minute. So, oh, let's just try and find a font now. Oh God, he's doing it again. He's trying to do this design thing live. He never learns, does he? Right, let's make it bigger. Suggestions, quick. Script font suggestions. Go. Not Comic Sans. Oh, why do I do this to myself? Okay. Let's just go through all like 50 million of my fonts. It's fine. We've got time. We've got time. The only problem is Popinder might still be in the chat, and Popinder is my other half, and she's going out tonight, so I've got to get back to babysit the kids. So I've got to leave in a minute. So if we get to 5 o'clock and I haven't left, she's going to message me in the chat and be like, I know you're still streaming. You need to come home. All right. Okay. Boom. Let's go with that. We need a shadow. Okay. Shadow. Distort. Transform. We'll do a lazy shadow. A lazy shadow. No blur. 100%. Boom, boom, boom. Something like this. Where's my layers? We'll come back to layers in a minute. Move this up, and it just creates a ton more space. And maybe we can get that pour in front as well. Put art on top. Nope, that's not right. We need pause on top. Something like this. Not my favorite F. Terrible F, actually. But, you know, we're I'm working with the time I've got. So that, whatever you do with that, it's created more space, which is great, because now I can make this a bit bigger. I think this is quite important, you know, what it actually is for. It's for animals, which is, you know, great. So let's shout about that a bit louder. We've got the address at the bottom. We've got this pill thing. Does it need the pill? Not sure. Text. I'd make this a bit bigger. And I would space it out a bit more. Everything just feels a bit squish down here. And the spacing between the lines feels a bit off as well. So I'm just going to... Bidding will close online the following day. There will also be an online 50-50 raffle. I feel like the raffle is something that might draw a lot of people in. So we might want to shout about that somewhere. Do we put like a big sticker or a big starburst and go, hey, raffle 50-50? I don't know. Maybe people would be into that. 2 lines for the address. I mean, we don't really need that. You know, the address is quite important, so you do want to make it stand out, but let's just make it a bit smaller and we'll slap it down there. Also for this text, I would probably go with, we've gone script and sans serif font throughout the entire thing. There's no reason to start using Baskerville down here. Change that for whatever this is, Azo Sans. Where's me panel gone? Type, character. Oh God, you can feel the pressure. Whoo! Azo. I feel the adrenaline kicking in. Okay. Paragraph. Center. I've got no idea why all of this is on individual lines as well. That bit of text there has been converted to outlines, so I can't actually change that. But we'll duplicate that and pretend that that says something about the raffle. So that's some raffle text, blah, blah. So it's a bit bigger. Oh, it's still a bit pushed for space. Does the title need to be that big? No, probably not. We could squish that down a bit and go up top. I think this font as well, this font isn't really very nice. We've got this beautiful font here, or hand-drawn font, whatever. I don't know what this is, but it's brilliant. I feel like this font here just doesn't feel right. It just feels literally like really... It's the kind of font that I get when I open a new document in Illustrator. It's like Myriad. It's boring, and it needs to have some character. It needs to just be, I don't know, a bit more. Even just a bit bolder. I don't know. Yeah, even just something a little bit bolder. Maybe a bit more rounded. Doesn't need to be as wild as any of these, but it just needs to, like, it still needs to be legible. And you could even have this bit of text coming like a banner, like a coloured banner coming around the A and possibly even looping through this part of the A. But now we've pushed that up. It's still plenty big enough. We've got a bit more spacing here, top and bottom. I mean, some of this text I can't actually edit. I'm just going to get rid of some of it anyway. This is too much waffle. Try and condense that down. Say the same thing with less lines. Obviously, with some clients, you can't do that. You can't just say, look, you need to use fewer words. You're talking too much. Just say less. Have a better design that will stand out more. But that doesn't always work with clients, unfortunately. They don't always like to hear that. QR code, smaller. Logo, smaller. Paying attention to that space on the left and the bottom. Trying to be tight, nice and consistent. That we can. The address. Yeah, I think we just need a different font here. So I'm not going to get into kind of redesigning the whole thing. That isn't the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to just show you Whoa, that is way too close to the top. What are you doing, Dan? What are you doing? We've got to move that down. Yeah, the purpose of this is to just show you that actually this is the kind of thing I focus on, is that little details. We've just given it a bit more spacing, a bit more room to breathe. We've tweaked a few things. That title is a bit more readable now, Art for a Pause. We've made what it is, a benefit for the Springfield Humane Society, a bit bigger. We've just given this a non-serif font down here and just made it all a bit bigger again, a bit more readable or legible. I'd space those lines out a bit more. It's still too tight. I've been naughty and got rid of a couple of lines, but even if I didn't, it would be a case of repeating the process. Squish this title down a bit more. Do you know what I mean? It's still taking up half the design. It's still huge. It's more than big enough. I love that cat's paw, by the way. That's really cute. And this is what I see with a lot of design. A lot of design this has got such a great, cute idea. It's just oozing personality, and it's just the font choice. It's lovely, but I mean for the title anyway, not for this font here. But just spacing. There's too much packed in there. We've got to space it out. We've got to readjust the balance to create more space, and it's got to read and flow a bit more. And like with this one, you know, that change I not only think was important, but by doing that, it created more space. In fact, what you could even have here, if you wanted to make something really cute, is just have like a banner, little banner running there that goes behind the cat's paw, and then the cat's paw could cast a shadow on the banner, and it makes the whole thing just feel like it fits together. But yeah, that's my terrible banner. Yeah, and oftentimes, it doesn't take too much to do this. It's quite simple things, but it's just, I don't know. I think maybe it's just a personal thing. Maybe it's just years of experience looking at different designs. But the spacing, the simple things like that, the technical stuff is what I really do focus on. The Thesis says, good stream. Thanks for sharing your time and skills with us. You are very welcome. Right. 3 minutes down. Yes, Stubers. I'm watching the clock. God. Gotta go, guys. See you later. It's all right. Popinda's been kind of quiet now. She might have jumped off the chat. I might be all right for a minute. How are you so good with the brush? Oh my goodness. I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not. Oh, if you've just seen my other streams, my logo's designs, like the dove just starts out like this total mess, and then it actually ends up looking decent, but my goodness, it takes a while to get there. Afshin, Dansky, thanks for reviewing my logo design. Braven Pix, hello. Oh, fantastic. Thank you for submitting it. Hopefully the feedback was helpful. I love the design. I'd love to see like an iteration on that. Phil K, is there any way we can look at your own work, portfolio? What, and critique my work? Oh, no. That's not how this works. I don't really have a portfolio, actually. If I'm honest, the best way to see work I do is to go on my Twitter or my Instagram. I don't actually have a portfolio online anymore. Maybe I should. I don't really care to post that sort of stuff on a portfolio, because I mostly teach now on YouTube. So I just I'll design stuff and throw it up on social media and then forget about it. But if you want to check out my Twitter and Instagram, that's where you will find all the stuff that I post. Stuber says, cheers, Dan. Good stream as always, mate. Thank you very much, sir. Hope you enjoyed it. Where can I submit the design? Okay, right, let me just grab the link. Where is it? If you'd like to submit designs for next Tuesday, we'll be doing this again. Hang on, let me get the window up. Is that the link? No, that is not the link. There we go. Right, let me just paste this in the chat. So there we go. That's the link if you'd like me to have a chance of me reviewing your work next Tuesday. And then Thursday, we've got the design stream where we'll be doing something, probably some Photoshop this week. We did Illustrator and logo design last week. I think we've got to do Photoshop this week, and we might do a bit of generative fill, which will be maybe we'll see what happens. I've had a lot of fun playing around with it, and when I say fun, I really mean like my results have been mixed, but it's been good fun. I've definitely had fun. I can guarantee that with absolute certainty. So Tanvir, amazing stream, Dansky, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for the live streams. Amazing. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Dansky, you are really a superhero with your banana. What? What is happening? Stop spamming. What banana? I do actually have a banana teddy at home. In fact, we all do. The entire family has banana teddies. Anyway, banana teddies aside, thank you so much for joining the stream, guys. I've got to run now. Thank you to everyone who submitted designs. You have been absolutely fantastic, as always. And yeah, I will see you on Thursday at 3 p.m. UK time. Have a great week. I'll see you soon.